3D printed bionic corals mimic a reef's power of photosynthesis. So this is about Cambridge researchers 3D printing coral-inspired structures that are meant to represent a reef base. What's cool about this is that the 3D printed models are actually made out of microorganisms that allow algae to grow and flourish within them, actually better than the ordinary medium of just regular coral or whatever it is. So this technique of printing live matter is already being used and tested for other things like printing tissue or parts of organs. This is the first time that researchers have brought it to things like the coral reefs as a way to try and help with all of the damage that's been done by humans. So question to you guys, either first thoughts or where else can you see bioprinting like this making an impact? I talked about transplants. Stephen, maybe food in your space. I don't know, what other sort of stuff are you guys hearing or thinking about?
One just really top of mind idea here. There's a company I've been looking at that's in the space, they call it photosynthetic biology. And so they're focused on algae production of things like cannabinoids and essential oils and something that could be part of an edible vaccine potentially to combat COVID. And so I believe in the space completely. And I'm thinking of it from as an algae perspective and what it can produce, right? These outputs. So that's platform. But I think 3D printing, I looked at a bioprinting company this week as well. So I certainly believe this is the future. And, AI and all the data that we have is the way that this type of thing becomes possible.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. You've seen it with heart transplants and stuff as well. And I think that, this is a huge problem, right? I think it's 50% of the Great Barrier Reef is dying because of this, right? And it's just really, really sad. And so I think this is, a great solution to coral bleaching.
What other emerging technologies are we going to see helping us repair the world from our own destruction?
Automation.
You mentioned food because this to me is in the synbio space, right? So we have a company creating cheese out in a lab, and there's a protein that's in dairy milk that they're producing in the lab, and so they don't need none of the methane from cows then as part of their production, right? So I think when you can optimally design a product, in the end, when it reaches scale, which today it's $50,000 for 100-gram production, let's say, of some output. But when you get to scale, these are really impactful from a climate change perspective.
Peter, have you seen other areas where emerging tech, frontier tech is helping us undo some of the bad that we've done in the last number of generations?
It's not an area that I follow as an investor, but I think as a person who cares deeply about climate change, I think that the biggest advance, the things that we need to do is we need to make big advances around carbon sequestration, and actually pulling carbon out. It's not even enough to decarbon. The estimates I've seen have been, even if we were to go completely carbon neutral, or carbon zero as an economy, we actually have to go negative. We actually have to start pulling carbon out of the atmosphere beyond just not putting any more into it. And, it's tricky. You don't just need to plant trees. You actually have to figure out really novel ways for pulling carbon, out of the atmosphere and then storing it. And so there have been some promising techniques which people have developed around being able to do this in, energy efficient ways. I think there was a team, out of Zurich that did some stuff that's really promising there, which if they can get it to kind of commercial scale and bring down the cost per, metric ton of CO2, it could, be a real game changer. But the fact that, there should, we should be putting, tens of billions of dollars into solving this problem. And, obviously we have a government that's not really doing anything right now.
One other angle here too is with Synbio, what you can do with agriculture. And so it's an interesting company actually in our portfolio makes plants into living sensors. And so then you can reduce the inputs on fertilizer or reduce the water application and irrigation. So many interesting elements when you also have a new data set.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw a company called Air Ink that was pulling carbon out of the air, as you talked about, Peter, and using it to make ink, which is pretty interesting. They had a partnership with, I think it was IBM, just to print boxes, like all of the, in like areas where like high fidelity ink isn't needed, right? Like the ink on a box no one really cares about, but it still needs to be printed. Have you guys seen any interesting areas where, aside from carbon capture, the catcher is actually being used for good output?
I mean, when I was in West Africa, they were using plastic bags for like grocery bags for really cute, like over the shoulder bags.
Huh.
So I've seen a bunch of stuff like that, actually.
Nice. Okay, cool. We'll move on to our next cartoon for this headline. Cartoonist, you got something funny for us? Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Number one, and another jealous plant.
That's funny. Nice.
Yeah, what tool is this? Is this Procreate?
This is Procreate. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I love Procreate.
Are those all the cartoons for this section?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, awesome.
It's a hard one.
No, that's great. They're both awesome. We'll move on to the final headline.